It's just after 7 o'clock. It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means if you're tuned in to 1460 WNBA, 1230 WVVP, or 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, the new 99.3 FM, I should add. And also on Facebook Live, it's time for the Coach's Corner, where we recap what happened a week ago in week 1 of the high school football season, not week 0, week 1. And we look ahead to what's coming in week number 2. I'm Jason Colangelo, pinch hitting for Bob Barrickman, who's a little under the weather, out of an abundance of caution, remaining out of the game tonight, but he'll be back very soon, I'm sure. And we had an exciting week of football on the stations, WBVP with the Quips and Beaver Falls, and that big rivalry, Aliquippa holding on to defeat the Tigers 39-25, and everybody knows the pedigree of the Aliquippa Quips, and they seem poised to be on the glide path toward that championship run once again. They obviously, Beaver Falls and Aliquippa, a huge rivalry between those two schools, and Beaver Falls was game, put forth the effort, but the Quips prevail 39-25. And on WNBA, a game that I did with Mike Gazadian, Rochester, and another rival, a crosstown rivalry game, defeats New Brighton by a final score of 27-20. In that game, Rochester's starting quarterback Tyler Lyons was sidelined with a right ankle injury. That brought in a relief pitcher for the Rams in J.D. Azalea, the senior, used to playing wideout, came in relief at quarterback and did a well of a job to propel Rochester to the victory over New Brighton. New Brighton certainly doing all they can, or all they could, to remain in the game throughout, but Rochester proved too much in the end. They defeat New Brighton 27-20. And then on Saturday evening, Geneva, traveling to Worcester, Ohio, in about a 2-hour trip out there to Worcester. First time those two teams had ever met. A great football game, back and forth seesaw affair. Eventually, Worcester outlasts Geneva 42-35, despite the fact that Geneva actually outgained Worcester and had opportunities galore to really get over the top there in the second half, but they were unable to do so. Those 3 games, all good ones, and we had another great one, and that brings us to our guest tonight, the head coach of the Western Beaver Golden Beavers, Ron Busby. And the reason why it brings me to you is because you were able to celebrate your first win as a head coach at Western Beaver in overtime. Talk a little bit about your win over Freedom, 14-12.
Great game down to the wire. One of those games where you hang on there and you're trying not to make a mistake and give the game away. Just trying to hang tough and give your kids a chance at the end. It was a battle. It was a physical football game, and at the end of the day, our kids happened to make plays when the game was on the line, and it went our way for us.
I mentioned to you that it was an overtime win. It wasn't the first overtime game for Western Beaver. The home debut a week prior to that, you lost in overtime. Do you think the experience of playing in overtime football was helpful in any way?
I don't know that the overtime necessarily. I mean, you like to think as a coach that you're going to get better, a little bit better each week, and that's certainly our goal when we go out each week. So, but playing in that tight game and definitely learned some lessons from that situation, both as a coaching staff and our kids. To kind of stay together, keep fighting, keep pulling the rope, and I think there is a little bit that we learned, from that tight game in our opener, to put us in a situation to know that what we had to do to pull through at the end of last week's game.
Well, Ron, I want to learn more about you individually. And this is your first foray as a head coach?
Correct.
You're no stranger to the Western Beaver School District. You've been an administrator for several years, correct?
That's correct. So.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about this transition on how this hall came about. How did you, did you aspire to be a head coach for a long time? Is it just something that happened, that kind of all the pieces laid in place?
So obviously I have a varied background in coaching, most of it back in my teaching days when I was in Ohio. Several years ago, about 14 years ago, I came to PA for an administrative position, started in the Deer Lake School District. Spent a few years over there and came to Western Beaver High School as the assistant principal athletic director. Did that job for about 4 years, and then got an opportunity to become the principal at Fairview Elementary School in the Western Beaver County School District.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Moved down to that job a few years into that. Derek Moy come in a few years ago as
Yeah.
our head coach. Had an opportunity to jump on board with him as the defensive coordinator. Derek moved on for other opportunities, and Ryan Matsuk took over, and I remained in that same role as the defensive coordinator. So when he moved on, it just kind of a no-brainer that we would just kind of keep things moving forward on the as much as the same path as we could. A lot of the some new coaches added to the staff, but a lot of the guys also returned. So there's some familiarity there in our program.
What's amazing about the Western Beaver program, if you look at the history of the program, Rich Niedabala, so much success, 31 years at the helm as a head coach at Western Beaver, and then Matt Gray follows with 17 years. So between two coaches, 48 seasons of football, and then subsequent to that, in the 4 seasons since, you're now the 4th head coach. So four head coaches in 4 years. Do you see yourself, is this something that you see yourself here in a long-term capacity, and does it feel right so far?
Sure, it feels good. I mean, obviously, football's a passion of mine, and I tell people before a few years back prior to coming on board with Derek, I mean, I knew at some point I would coach again. I just kind of at the time thought that it might be after I retire and I'm done working as a principal, but life's funny sometimes, and takes twists and turns that you don't see coming, and had the opportunity to get back into coaching. So I knew at some point that I would. I'm blessed to get that opportunity right where I work and where I'm at, and sooner rather than later. So I've embraced that. I'm very very comfortable with the situation that I have. So yeah, I foresee being here for a period of time.
And it's not as if you were a stranger to what was going on, because you served as athletic director. You knew the ins and outs of all the programs, not just football. But would you, I don't mean to, I guess the way to characterize this, is it more fun, or more, do you get more energy from coaching as opposed to being an administrator as an athletic director? Is it more challenging? What are the two roles, the comparison between the two roles?
Certainly there's more, when you are coaching and you're involved in that aspect of it, certainly there's a urgency, a passion for the game, definitely lead to more excitement, more ups and downs. Of course, the downside of that is you also feel the shortcomings as well when those happen. So, the ups and the downs. So, that's a little bit more of a, an adjustment from being the athletic director and just kind of, focusing on the big picture of the program itself, the X's and the O's, the monies, the organizational aspect. So I'm sure there's a difference there, but I think one helps somebody grasp the other to do a better job. Certainly,
You have an understanding.
There's a relationship there that you can pull from both to help you be more successful in the other.
And you are a guy with a defensive background. You mentioned you were a defensive coordinator under Derek Moy. You coached in Ohio as a defensive guy. You've never coached the offensive side of the ball, correct?
Well, yeah. So my experience has been around on both sides of the ball as position coaches. Obviously, I mean, I think you move around, you do where you're asked year to year. So I don't want to make it sound like I've never coached on the offensive side of the ball. So I have some experience there. But of course, recently and as of late, most of my experience has been on the defensive side.
And would you describe yourself as, we hear coaches say that they embrace the aspect of teaching, the fundamentals. It seems to me that, from what I've garnered from talking to people, that you're a guy that believes in the basics about blocking and tackling and doing those little things that are important, and the details of what it takes to be successful. Are you a guy that relishes the X's and O's aspect, or are you more about being sound fundamentally?
Well, I think if I'm going to be honest with myself, I would say that obviously I relish the X's and the O's and the chess match part of football. Whether it be offense or defense, and those things, and the fundamentals, the process. I think anybody that does what we do, that becomes a head coach or even an assistant coach for a period of time, I mean, you do that because you love the process, right?
Yep.
You love the off season, you love preparing, training, kids and preparing them for a season and what they're going to go through and executing. So certainly I love the process, but just the competing, the opportunity to go out with young men and compete each week and battle together, for a common purpose. I mean, there's, you hear people talk about it that played 30 years ago or 10 years ago or graduated a year ago. That's the things that they miss, being part of a unit that goes out with a common goal to compete together as a group of young men, and then, that's a special experience.
Well, speaking of that common goal and teams coming together, I want to kind of change directions a little bit here, and your time now as an administrator and your time as an athletic director and now your time as a head coach. Have you ever seen anything like what these kids are experiencing with the pandemic? It just seems like last year was a very, very tough transition to get on the field, and a lot of these guys, the only normalcy they had was playing football with one another. From your perspective, how important is it that we continue to transition to normalcy, if you will, and get these guys back to interacting with one another and their other fellow students? Has it been a big deal for them to get back on the field?
Oh, it's been a huge deal. I mean, when you look back, you on one hand you're thankful last season happened and you got to play, albeit limited, and shortened season, shortened postseason, but they did get the opportunity to go out and play, so you're thankful for that. But by the same token, it's a childhood. They're once in a lifetime experiences that these kids have an opportunity to participate in and experience. And I can talk all day and probably not very politically correct, but in our school district, I'll speak to what I'm familiar with. We haven't had a student athlete or a staff member hospitalized. We haven't had a serious incident. So they show up every day. They work hard. If they don't feel well, they stay home. They follow the protocols, do the things they're expected to do. So, we feel like we're fine. We can handle it. And I'm a big believer in, choice. That opportunity for those people that think we shouldn't be playing or want to do certain things. They have the right to do that, and those that want to go out and compete and play should also have those same rights. And I'm a big believer in just let everybody choose for themselves.
What's amazing to me for you guys too is the logistical nightmare that this is. I mean, all the protocol that you have to follow, the travel, everything that you're doing, and it's all basically, it could all be up in smoke if one or two things happens. We've seen that with two teams this week, or last week with Beaver and Hopewell that had some COVID issues. We're seeing it throughout the WPIL, not all over the place, but it's sporadic instances. Sure. It's got to be, it's almost like somebody's always lurking over your shoulder, and this thing could all shut down tomorrow. What is the stress level off the charts because of that?
Sure, I wouldn't say the stress level's off the charts, but I will say it's always there. I mean, you're wondering, you get to practice and you just, you're waiting. Do you touch base with the building principal? What's going on? Everything okay? Are we good? Who maybe hit the latest quarantine list? I mean, through no fault of their own. I mean, a kid could test positive for COVID, and one of our kids sat next to them in third period, and now all of a sudden they're quarantined, and they don't have symptoms, but for them to get back on the field, they've got to go get a negative test result after 4 days. And so you're digging through those protocols, figuring out how do we get these kids back on the field, and so it's just one of those things. It's that you wish you didn't have to deal with, but it's above my pay grade. It's it's out there. It's the reality that we're forced to deal with, and you just do it. You do the best job you can do, and try to keep your mind focused on the game and having your kids ready.
Well, your kids have certainly been ready through 2 weeks, 1-1 so far, 2 overtime tough games. We'll return with Coach Busby. More of the Coach's Corner after this short timeout.
There's something for everybody this semester at CCBC. Whether you're leveling up a career or launching a new life, CCBC has got you covered. In fact, CCBC is straight to you. Your local library is now a CCBC classroom. Build career skills and earn college credit right in your backyard. Check out credit and non-credit classes starting in the near future. Click ccbc.edu/fall for more information. Right place, right time. CCBC is right where you need them this fall.
Did you know that the Grand Valley Inn was voted #1 best overall restaurant in the Best of the Valley Reader's Choice Awards 4 years in a row? Grand Valley Inn also has a fun family trivia night Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. The Grand Valley Inn is the place where you can also find the best live music under the heated tents. Call 724-843-9000 for more info or to make your reservation for the Project Band on September 11th for only a $10 coverage charge. Grand Valley Inn. Good food, good friends, and good entertainment.
When you're a superhero, you got big responsibilities. This is the Aquaman of Beaver County, Jim Riggio from the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority. The Aquamen and Aquawomen of the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority really do look after the needs of the community, just like real superheroes. The service we provide really is super, and the dedication of our workers can only be described as heroic. We just don't always wear spandex suits and capes. This is the Aquaman of Beaver County, and I'll keep the water on for you. Click bfwater.net.
When you're looking for the Valley's best eye care, look to Gazzetti Optometric Services, 212 State Avenue in Beaver. Dr. John Gazzetti has over 40 years of patient care experience, including exams, contact lens fittings, cataract, glaucoma and dry eye management, laser vision correction, and sports and sun eyewear. For your best vision, make the best decision. Call Gazzetti Optometric Services at 724-774-7559.
Head coach of the Western Beaver Golden Beavers, Ron Busby, is my guest on the Coach's Corner. You're watching us or listening to us on 1230 WBVP, 1460 WNBA, the new 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, and of course on Facebook Live, all over the world. Coach Busby, we talked a little bit about your 2 games to begin this season, both of them overtime affairs. One you got the better of last week against Freedom on the road. The opener you were on the short end of the stick. But now coming into, I guess it's termed week 2, even though it's third week. I don't know how that works, but sure. Week 0, week 1, week 2. Big game coming up for you. It's another non-section game, but it's a big one because it's a familiar foe as far as our listeners are concerned. It's a Saturday afternoon game at Riverside. What can you tell me about the Panthers of Riverside? Now, I know they had a pretty close call and almost pulling off a big upset a week ago.
Sure. So, obviously, we've been preparing for them all week, watching a lot of film. And, you know, they were in a situation where they had their opportunities to win that game last week versus Olsh. I mean, that score could have very easily been flipped. So, you know, they've got a solid team, and, you know, we're expecting a great battle again this week, and we feel like our kids are ready for it. So we'll be ready to play. They got a little bit of size. You know, they got some big kids up front, both sides of the defensive and offensive line, and they get a good push. So, you know, we feel like our kids will be mentally prepared for that, and, you know, we've been getting ready for that. So we look for a very physical game up in the trenches this week.
And we talked a little bit during the break about the rigors of this non-conference schedule. Do you feel like it's preparing you for what's to come as far as conference play is concerned?
Sure. We feel like, you know, Beaver County football is, you know, right with anybody. Solid, competitive, backyard brawl, so to speak. Obviously, when you battle these teams locally, you're going to come out of that, you know, with some good experience. You're going to be hardened, a hardened, tough football team. But you know, we don't view it that way. Our kids don't view it that way. I don't view it that way. You know, it's a game. It's our third game. You know, conference, non-conference, week 0, whatever. We want to win them all. Like, we line up and play. We're playing to win them all.
We always hear coaches use the cliche, it's a 4-quarter game, but in your case, it's been more than 4 quarters
sure.
both games. So it's not as if it's you know, you got to get it done in overtime as well. So Riverside this Saturday, and then looking ahead to conference play. Where do you see yourself in that mix? Is there a target team that you say, hey, this is going to be the championship's going to ride through them?
Well, sure. I mean, you think, you know, when you look at Double A, you look at our section, we feel like we're very competitive with regards to our section, and feel like we're certainly going to be one of those teams that are in the hunt. But when you talk about Double A, obviously you point out and you circle Stowe Rocks. I mean, right? They've got it going. They do a lot of things that are difficult to defend. So, you know, you know where they are on your schedule. You certainly don't look down the road at any team, but you know they're out there and they're the team to beat. You want to be the champ. You got to beat the champ, right? So, you know.
Funny that you mentioned the Stowe Rocks Vikings, because that leads us to our next kind of mini topic here. In this age of high school football, we see a lot of lopsided scores, and we see some mismatches. I was shocked to see the 82-0 drubbing that Stowe Rocks hung on Jeanette. Jeanette, we know about the history of the Jeanette program, the Terrell Pryor and the many championships. How big was what was the sentiment among people within the coaching community? The 82-0 score with those two teams, it just didn't equate when I was looking at it.
Sure. So I didn't see any film. Maybe at some point as we get closer to playing them and we're starting to break them down, I'll see what actually went wrong. Sometimes things happen and they get away from you, and I've certainly been in those kind of football games on both sides. But when you're talking 70, 80 points, it's, without seeing it, I don't want to comment, but it's hard to imagine how things could go that south. I mean, that's a ton of points, especially when you start talking about a running clock and the mercy rule and those kinds of things.
Yeah,
so,
and it was early in the game that running clock began, because I think it was 52 or 62-0 at the half.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that it got that out of hand that quickly. In reading, one of the things that Jeanette has talked about is their numbers being down. Have you seen the numbers, from the sheer numbers, the number of players, have you seen that impacted by COVID? Are there guys that are saying, hey, I don't want to come out? Or is everybody still excited to come out and play and be part of the program?
I mean, I think our numbers are about, what we expected. We're a little thin like everybody is. I just think as a rule, not necessarily just COVID. I think if you were to plot those points on a graph over the last decade in really any school or even on a national level, or drill down to Beaver County here, it's been a steady decline.
Yep.
And I wouldn't say just football, I'd say all sports. I mean, it's a society we live in where, a lot of people don't want the hard work to put in to go with some things. They don't want to wait their turn with regards to getting underclassmen out there, having to pay their dues. So, there's a lot of reasons why that I could go into that are just personal opinions of my own of why numbers are down. But I think that's a trend that started pre-COVID and has, we're kind of where we're at. I don't know how much COVID plays into that. I can't speak for other programs. I can speak for ours. I feel like, some of those other reasons I would identify as why we don't have the numbers that we would like to have, and I think all of those predate COVID.
It is a different world than the world that you and I grew up in.
Sure.
I mean, these guys have virtually anything at their fingertips in the way of information, and there's a lot of people competing for their attention, whether it be social media. And I find myself, I don't know if you're like this, Coach, but I used to sit down and watch a ball game from beginning to end, whether that be baseball or football or basketball. But now every time I'm sitting down to watch a game, I have my phone and I'm looking at other scores and I'm looking at other games. I think some of that is translated to young people as well. It's hard for them to be, dialed in for a practice or 4 or 5 practices a week, because there's just so many people competing for their attention.
Sure, and I think one of the examples is drive around some of the parks in some of these neighborhoods, and when school lets out at 3:30, and do you see the 3rd graders, 4th graders, 5th graders playing in the park, throwing the Nerf around, or are they sitting in front of their PS5 playing Madden? I mean,
yeah.
And I could be criticized for saying that, but that's that's a reality. I hear it, I see it every day, and I think that's a reflection of where we're at in a society with regards to sports, especially physical contact sports that are very demanding, both physically and mentally. I mean, I think it's just kids today, not as many just choose to go to do that.
Well, one of the other things that I wanted to broach with you as far as topics are concerned, you mentioned that you came aboard with Derek Moy and then stayed on with Ryan Matzok, and we know about Ryan's pedigree as a head coach. Talk a little bit about your staff. Who did you bring on? Did you retain a lot of guys from Ryan's staff? Did you go out and try to find like-minded individuals that help comprise your staff? Can you mention some of the guys on the staff and what they've meant to you thus far?
Sure. So, two of the guys that returned that were here with Derek, here with Ryan, and then stayed on board with me were Ryan Noe and his father, Rick Noe. Ryan was the defensive back coach the last 2 years when I was the defensive coordinator. So when I took over as the head coach, he stepped up to that defensive coordinator spot. We do a lot of the same things defensively as far as schematically, philosophically, but of course every coach puts their own little spin on things, and he's certainly doing that with our defense. Rick is working primarily on the offensive side of the football with myself. Frank Jupin is another addition, first year with us this year. He's coaching our offensive and defensive line. With the offensive defensive line is also Chad Penn. He has been with us for the past 2 seasons, and he's another guy that returned. And then we also added another young coach, Jordan Sloane from Wellsville, Ohio. Played for me years ago when I coached down at Wellsville High School, and he's handling our wide receivers and outside linebackers.
So you have a little bit of a mix there.
Sure, we do got a good mix.
Yeah, some newer guys, but it's been kind of a seamless transition from what the kids experienced a year ago into this. And I'm sure one of the challenges for any head coach is that you were calling defenses a year ago. Is it difficult to kind of step back or step away from that part of it, or do you? Is it, do you still want your thumbprints all over that defense, or do you?
No. I mean, you'd have to ask Ryan. I feel like I've done a good job kind of stepping away from the defense and not micromanaging. You'd have to ask him that. Sometimes I'm not very good at self-reflection and being seeing the reality of what it is. But it's certainly a challenge when you took ownership in something for a couple years and feel like you did a pretty good job and were pretty good on that side of the football. It's hard to let go of, but I feel like, I don't drill down, focus in too many of the details. Ryan handles that. I might ask a question or two or pop in and make a suggestion on the field about one thing or another, but for the most part, I've got my hands full offensively, so certainly that, it's a blessing to have Ryan because it's allowed me to really not worry about that side of the football and worry about us getting better offensively.
Ron, you got Riverside Saturday afternoon, and one of the key guys that's going to try and help you get across the finish line and get that victory will be joining us after the break.
Great, I did. I also wanted to mention one more guy that's with us, is Scotty Florence. He wasn't here with Derek, came on last year with Ryan Matzuk, and he's back with our running backs this year. So, Scotty Florence has been a great addition for us, as far as our running backs concerned. Some people out in your audience might remember back when he carried the ball here in Beaver County.
The most successful coaches in Beaver County, to a man, every single one of them say that the most important aspect of this thing is to surround yourself with good people, and it sounds like you've done just that.
Certainly. I'm blessed to have those guys. They work hard. Sometimes it's a thankless job and for the job that they do, but and sometimes they may feel like, I don't appreciate what they do day in and day out, but I certainly do, and I hope they know that.
You appreciate what one of your players has been doing for you day in and day out. We're going to be joined by him when the Coach's Corner returns. You're watching or listening to the Coach's Corner here on Wednesday evening, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WNBA, the new 99.3 FM, and Facebook Live. And of course, we would like to say thank you to our great sponsors. Everyone goes to Pizza Joe's, of course. The best pizza in Beaver County. Everyone goes to Pizza Joe's. We'll be back right after this.
Being part of a credit union is like being part of a team. This is Cindy Hiladio from Friendly Federal Credit Union. Last year, we loaned out over $8 million to our members for all sorts of reasons. Friendly Federal Credit Union enables local people to do things by working together like a team. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union in Baden, Reliquippa. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Friendly Federal Credit Union, you got a friend. McGee Heating and Air Conditioning in Aliquippa has been in business for nearly 60 years. Now that's experience you can count on. When you call McGee Heating and Air Conditioning at 724-375-7112, they'll answer your call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sue Curlin and her winning team service most brands, and McGee Heating and Air Conditioning is locally owned and operated. As always, they wish their best to our local teams. McGee Heating and Air Conditioning, Main Street, Aliquippa.
The Express Lane would like to remind everyone that a happy car is a healthy car. No one wants to be stranded on the side of the road. That's why your vehicle's routine maintenance is so important. The Express Lane offers great specials that saves you money. Hurry in for the Super Oil Change Special. Includes oil change, rotation, alignment check, multi-point inspection, and car wash. The Express Lane, oil, tires, and service center. Located next to the Beaver Valley Auto Mall.
Ambridge Italian Villa, a family tradition with the taste sensation.
It's back to school season, and that means it's time to form your list.
Okay, let's see. 3 book covers, a couple spiral bound notebooks, a new tablet, a couple rulers, and oh yeah, a gyro, chicken salad, and a pulled pork sandwich.
If your back to school shopping list looks like that one, you already know how Ambridge Italian Villa can make any return to the classroom easier when it comes to mealtime. Available for dine-in, takeout, or delivery. No matter where your kids or grandkids go to school, make sure they're getting courses in Italian and Greek. Main courses, that is, from the Ambridge Italian Villa. Order lunch, dinner, or even large event catering by visiting AmbridgeItalianVilla.com or Ambridge Italian Villa on Dust Avenue for takeout or dine-in service. It's the family tradition with the taste sensation.
Ambridge Italian Villa, a family tradition with the taste sensation.
Returning to the Coach's Corner for segment 3 here on 1230 WBVP, 1460 WNBA, the new 99.3 FM presented by St. Barnabas and Facebook Live. My guest is Western Beavers head coach Ron Busby. And Ron, we talked a bit about your game with Riverside. We talked a little bit about your games coming up in the conference. But I want to talk to you about the guy that's seated to my left, one of your players on both sides of the ball, a 4-year starter for you in Lonnie Craft. What can you tell me about Lonnie Craft?
Well, Lonnie Craft, first of all, I'll say that it's not very often the kid can start for a varsity football team for 4 seasons, and Lonnie's accomplished that. Prior to me being the head coach, he's had 4 head coaches.
4 head coaches, yeah.
So, he can tell you a little bit more about that aspect of it and what that's like to deal with. But Lonnie's a kid that is just, he gives you stability. He's showing up every game, giving you all he's got, showing up every day in practice. Going to work his tail off, leads by example, leads vocally, picks his teammates up when they're need the encouragement, keeps our locker room together, and a lot of coaches will tell you one of the most important things that that a team needs is glue in the locker room, somebody that's going to hold your guys together, communicate, and continue to be a close-knit group when you face adversity, and Lonnie's certainly one of the guys that gives us that.
Lonnie, I'm going to flip it around to you. What can you tell me about Coach? You've seen 4 head coaches in 4 seasons. What does Coach Busby bring to the table, and what have you enjoyed the kind of transition to Coach Busby, and talk a little bit about him as a coach and what he brings to the table?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Coach Busby, he's a physical coach. He's a passionate coach. He loves his players. Everything about the sport of football, he loves everything about it. He leads by example. He shows us what it takes to be a great football team and what it means to be a man of the game. So.
And as a leader on both sides of the ball, you're playing split end wide receiver on the offensive side of the ball. You're playing linebacker on the opposite side of the ball. I was talking to you before we went on air tonight. What's your favorite? What do you like to play? What gets you most juiced up on the football field? What do you like to do the most?
Oh, I love defense. Defense is where I'm at. I love hitting people.
Are you
it's
a guy that gets
passion.
after the quarterback, or are
Yeah.
you more read and react?
I like getting after the quarterback. It's fun to me.
So a big sack on a third down situation would be more fulfilling to you than, let's just say, a making a catch or doing something on the offensive
Yeah,
side.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, Coach, because we hear a lot of young men say that. You think of the glamour positions of running back and wide receiver, but it seems like to me now, even because of what they're seeing on TV, the glamour positions are on the defensive side of the ball. Guys like T.J. Watt, guys that are getting after the passer, they get a lot of money, first of all, and they get a lot of acclaim. So it seems like everybody is fired up about playing defense too.
Sure, and I think our kids have embraced the defensive aspect in their role. I mean, we've been, in what is now our third season, but the previous 2 seasons, we've been pretty good on that side of the football. We feel like we're pretty good on that side of the ball again. We've got a long way to go, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but they play with passion, and I think that feeds itself, so to speak, and creates some of those excitement and builds that passion in the younger players when they see guys like Lonnie and the way they play on that side of the football, and that's a great thing. I mean, you keep pushing that thing forward and making it a culture in your program, and Lonnie's a big reason why we kind of have that culture on that side of the ball.
One of the unique aspects about Western Beaver's football program is that you've also welcomed in through a co-op the kids from Lincoln Park who don't have the opportunity to play football for their school. They're playing their football with you guys. What has that experience been like for you as coaches? Is that difficult to ingratiate those guys into what you're doing since they're not in the building? And talk a little bit about the co-op. Has it been a success in your eyes?
Sure, we feel like it's been a success. I mean, obviously we've had some very good players from Lincoln Park in our program currently, and we've had some good players come through our program. Some that have gone on to play at the next level. So, athletically, it's been, I think, very good for our program. I also think for the Western Beaver kids, it's been a positive. Not only gives us numbers, obviously, we feel like it makes us more competitive, and it's a chance to just blend as a team with people that you wouldn't otherwise encounter as a teammate. I mean, obviously, demographically, we're bringing kids from all over. You can go to Lincoln Park. You can live pretty much anywhere as long as you can get there. So putting those kids together, and a lot of people ask, is that a problem? How do our kids get along? We don't recognize any bit of a difference. In that locker room, we're a team. I don't think any of our kids look at or ask, is this kid LP or is this kid WB? We're Western football.
How long has
that's
the co-op?
mindset.
How long has the co-op?
4 years.
So Lonnie, you kind of saw it at its inception. Has there ever been any, Coach said that now that's not the case. Was there any rift at the outset when you were a freshman coming in? A lot of the guys played together their whole lives, and now another group of guys is coming in, or was it did everybody kind of welcome each other into that atmosphere in the locker room?
I think at first, my freshman year, we were starting to fill each other out.
Yeah.
And over the time, we started getting to know each other and becoming one.
And so now it's to the point where after 4 years, this co-op is, they're one of the guys.
Yeah, just one of the guys. We're Western Beaver football. So everyone, you think that everyone by now should know who we are and who the players that are coming from different areas, such as Pittsburgh, you would think you would know who they are as a person as well.
Lonnie, we mentioned that you're a fourth-year senior. When you were a wide-eyed freshman, I'm sure there were guys that were mentors or leaders on the team that you looked up to and tried to work from or pattern yourself after. What's that like now to be the guy that everybody's looking to in the locker room? Are there is it something that you've embraced, that leadership role? Is it something that you enjoy? Are you a demonstrative guy? Do you like to talk in the locker room? Or are you more of a guy that leads by example?
I think I'm a little bit of both. Over years, getting to know all the other seniors, I think they rubbed off on me a little bit. So being the senior now, knowing what I have to do to be the leader of the football team, there's other leaders obviously, but knowing me as a person, I think that I'm the right fit to lead this team. And everyone seems to come up
the guy to your right seems to agree with you. I think it seems like this guy's got his head on his shoulders the right way and seems pretty serious-minded about leading this football team.
Sure, and you know, we're fortunate when you have players, and of course there's a ton of seniors out there that, you know, Lonnie's just the one that I brought with me tonight, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, you know, Thad Gray, Zach Schwartz, Vinny DiDominicus, you know, and don't let me forget anybody, Lonnie, but there's
Braden
Milladine,
Logan.
You know, our senior class is a group of guys that, you know, they've been through a lot, and they've been through it together, and you know, that's kind of our mantra, you know, each and every week, that we know we're going to face adversity. You know, we're young. We're a young football team. We have a lot of inexperienced guys on the field that haven't played a lot of football. But, you know, we put 4 seniors out there that have played a lot of football, so we put a lot on those guys, and they respond, and they don't cower from the challenge when we face adversity or things don't go exactly the way we want it. You know, a la week 1 in that overtime loss. You know, they didn't pout, they didn't hang their heads. Yep. They came back to work Monday ready to get after it and get things fixed. And this time it went our way, and you know, they showed up to yesterday ready to do the same thing, and that's what they bring to the table, and that's a credit to the senior leadership.
Now, Lonnie, is Coach a screamer, or is he more of a is he under control most of the time?
He's been under control this year. He's very passionate about us because he knows how good we can be. So yeah, every once in a while he can scream, shout, but like we know what he sees in us. He knows what type of football team he can be.
Lonnie, any other sports you played growing up, or do you play for Western Beaver? Any other sports?
Yeah, I play basketball, track, and baseball.
So you play basketball, track, and baseball, but is football if you had to rank them, that would be your passion?
Yes, sir.
Are you thinking about playing after high school? Do you want to play somewhere?
Yeah.
Do you have anybody come calling yet, or?
Quite a bit of schools. Some in particular. Fairmont State, Millersville, Toledo, Kent State.
I mean, the guy has some size. He has the frames that he can actually, you know, see that, you know, kind of build up and be a guy that with that athleticism can go a ways. One other thing I wanted to ask you, Lonnie, and we kind of asked Coach this too, but your perspective is interesting to me because you've seen both sides of it. You've been a 4-year starter. This COVID thing, I'm sure you're over it by now. The first 2 years were kind of like, you know, you didn't have to go through all the protocol and all the other crap that comes along with COVID. At this point in time, are you guys, you know, relieved that you're playing football, or are you saying, hey, can we just, you know, get things back to normal? And how important has being together as a team been for you guys, because it presents some sort of like normal atmosphere for you?
The COVID thing, everyone, they know it's been tough on us.
Yeah.
But we didn't allow that as a team to be the wall in our way.
Yeah.
We took that adversity and we made it into a football team that's been ready to go every week at a time. And we're ready for next week. We've been working.
It's funny that Lonnie says that in that way, because I really do feel like this has been some great life lessons for these guys. It transcends the game of football. It, you know, in life and business or whatever you're pursuing, there are going to be times where things aren't going right or you don't feel as if they're fair necessarily, but if you use it as an excuse and don't allow yourself to be paralyzed by that excuse, this has been a good teaching tool for them in a strange sort of way.
Sure. And our thing is you know, these guys, everyone's got an opinion on this thing, whether they're kids or, you know, young men on our football team or adults. And, you know, what we teach them is, you know, what I'm proud to see is guys have an opinion and speaking up and believing in it and, you know, standing by their views and personal beliefs, whichever side that may be on.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of growing up. That's part of those lessons. Stand for something. I don't care which side, but if it's important to you and you believe in something, you know, don't cower down from it and stand your ground. And, you know, our guys have done that, and I'm proud of them for the way they've handled things off the field as well as on the field.
Well, Coach Busby, Lonnie, you're going to stick with us for this last segment. We're going to have some fun and take a spin around. We're going to ask you for some predictions for some things that come, not high school related, other predictions. And you're watching or listening to the Coach's Corner here on Wednesday evening, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WNBA, the new 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, Facebook Live, as always, presented by Pizza Joe's. Everyone goes to Pizza Joe's, Lonnie. Everyone. Even you. We'll be back right after this.
There's something for everybody this semester at CCBC. Whether you're leveling up a career or launching a new life, CCBC has got you covered. In fact, CCBC is straight to you. Your local library is now a CCBC classroom. Build career skills and earn college credit right in your backyard. Check out credit and non-credit classes starting in the near future. Click ccbc.edu/fall for more information. Right place, right time. CCBC is right where you need them this fall.
Did you know that the Grand Valley Inn was voted #1 best overall restaurant in the Best of the Valley Reader's Choice Awards 4 years in a row? Grand Valley Inn also has a fun family trivia night Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. The Grand Valley Inn is the place where you can also find the best live music under the heated tents. Call 724-843-9000 for more info or to make your reservation for the Project Band on September 11th for only a $10 coverage charge. Grand Valley Inn. Good food, good friends, and good entertainment.
When you're a superhero, you got big responsibilities. This is the Aquaman of Beaver County, Jim Riggio from the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority. The Aquamen and Aquawomen of the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority really do look after the needs of the community, just like real superheroes. The service we provide really is super, and the dedication of our workers can only be described as heroic. We just don't always wear spandex suits and capes. This is the Aquaman of Beaver County, and I'll keep the water on for you. Click bfwater.net.
When you're looking for the Valley's best eye care, look to Gazzetti Optometric Services, 212 State Avenue in Beaver. Dr. John Gazzetti has over 40 years of patient care experience, including exams, contact lens fittings, cataract, glaucoma and dry eye management, laser vision correction, and sports and sun eyewear. For your best vision, make the best decision. Call Gazzetti Optometric Services at 724-774-7559.
Being part of a credit union is like being part of a team. This is Cindy Hilario from Friendly Federal Credit Union. Last year, we loaned out over $8 million to our members for all sorts of reasons. Friendly Federal Credit Union enables local people to do things by working together like a team. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union in Baden, Aliquippa. Member NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
Friendly Federal Credit Union. You got a friend.
McGee Heating and Air Conditioning in Aliquippa has been in business for nearly 60 years. Now that's experience you can count on when you call McGee Heating and Air Conditioning at 724-375-7112. They'll answer your call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sue Curlin and her winning team service most brands, and McGee Heating and Air Conditioning is locally owned and operated. As always, they wish their best to our local teams. McGee Heating and Air Conditioning, Main Street, Aliquippa.
Welcome to Beaver Valley Auto Mall. It's the best place to get a great deal on a really nice car. Our selection is amazing, especially right now. Search hundreds of vehicles at beavervalleycars.com. Find the one you like and schedule a test drive. Our expert staff and convenient location make the buying process easy to navigate. Every car is thoroughly inspected, and we'll keep it healthy with our first-class maintenance center. Buy here and service here. Become a Baba Beaver believer at Beaver Valley Auto Mall.
Ambridge Italian Villa, a family tradition with the taste sensation.
It's back to school season, and that means it's time to form your list.
Okay, let's see. 3 book covers, a couple spiral-bound notebooks, a new tablet, a couple rulers, and oh yeah, a gyro, chicken salad, and a pulled pork sandwich.
If your back to school shopping list looks like that one, you already know how Ambridge Italian Villa can make any return to the classroom easier when it comes to mealtime. Available for dine-in, takeout, or delivery. No matter where your kids or grandkids go to school, make sure they're getting courses in Italian and Greek. Main courses, that is, from the Ambridge Italian Villa. Order lunch, dinner, or even large event catering by visiting AmbridgeItalianVilla.com or Ambridge Italian Villa on Dust Avenue for takeout or dine-in service. It's the family tradition with the taste sensation.
Ambridge Italian Villa, a family tradition with the taste sensation.
Ron Busby, head coach of Western Beaver, has been our guest throughout the hour. Head coach at Western Beaver in his first season. Got his first win a week ago in overtime against Freedom. This week, as we already mentioned, coming up, a big one against Riverside. I know Lonnie's fired up about it. I can tell he's chomping at the bit to go. You got to be fired up about Saturday afternoon football.
Sure. Can't. Anytime that we take the field on the grass at home at Western Beaver Stadium, it's a great day, and our kids love playing at home.
I think I said at Riverside,
Still,
didn't I?
you might have.
Lonnie, hit me when I'm wrong. You're not allowed to.
But you know, we hadn't lost a home game in a couple years, and we came up short. So we've got some paybacks, and we certainly want to defend that hill. It's kind of our mantra for that home turf, and we're definitely going to get our best effort this week. Lots of action on all three stations this week for us. New Brighton and Southside Beaver. We're unsure about who's going where. We'll get that all squared away from the standpoint of who's assigned to what game. But New Brighton and Southside Beaver will be on WBVP. That's a Gold Star game. Coach, you and I were talking about that at the break. The Gold Star game, if those of you who have not been on one of our broadcasts in a Gold Star game, it really is something to behold. The fallen heroes, soldiers throughout the country, or throughout the county, I should say, their families attend, and there's a beautiful ceremony before the game, just a patriotic vibe, and the families, deservedly so, are honored, and the players are assigned numbers representing the fallen soldiers. It really is a cool thing. Hopefully it's something that you guys will get to be, get to experience for yourselves, but it really is a neat idea. Sure. Anytime that you can take a moment and honor those people that have made the ultimate sacrifice, and their families that don't get to see them or spend time with them anyway because of the sacrifice that they made for all of us, certainly more than deserved, and nothing that we can do to repay that, but we should certainly honor and respect it.
Allowing us to do the things that we love. I love to call the games, and I love to watch guys like you play the game. It has to give you, pause. And a lot of the guys that were emotional when they were down on the field, the players, you could sense that they got the gravity of it. I'm sure in your life you've probably known somebody that has either served or did serve at some capacity, and it really does seem like athletes get it. They love the troops.
Absolutely.
That game's on WBVP. Another showdown on WNBA. That's a 6:30 airtime, by the way. This is also a 6:38 p.m. airtime for us on WNBA. Central Valley and Aliquippa. You talk about a showdown early. Central Valley and Aliquippa. Central Valley, we talked about the loads of talent they have, and Aliquippa, we know about their pedigree. That should be a good football game too.
Sure. That can't wait to see how that one turns out. I'm not gonna pick a winner in that. I'm sure both teams are going to bring their A game.
Yeah, we know we don't want any predictions from you on that. We also on the next day after your game on Saturday afternoon, Geneva's in action for their home opener against Carnegie Mellon. Airtime for that one is 6:30. Geneva, a loser last week to Worcester in a great ball game, 42-35, hoping to rebound. And as a Geneva alum, I will be there in person to watch that one, and it should be a fun ball game between Geneva and Carnegie Mellon. Also this week, we have, tomorrow night, we have the GOAT, Tom Brady, lining up for the first time against the Dallas Cowboys. And then on Sunday at 1, the Steelers play the Bills. Lonnie, big Steeler fan?
Yeah, a big Steeler fan. My family, they love the Steelers. That's
every Sunday, watching, getting together?
Every Sunday.
And I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think of this year? I mean, do you think the Steelers, we talked a little bit about in the offseason about what could happen with Ben Roethlisberger. Ultimately, he re-signs. Do you think with the addition of Najee Harris and some of the other things they did, do you think that the offense will be good?
Absolutely. The preseason, they looked sharp in preseason. I'm ready for the season. Najee Harris is a big piece. They needed some running game. I think the line's going to open up some holes for them. And
are you predicting a Steeler win?
Yeah, I'm predicting a Steeler win.
See that? I like that. He's willing to go out on a limb. Well, I want to thank our guests, Lonnie Craft and Coach Ron Busby. Thank you guys for both joining us. Best of luck throughout the year, and you were great to have aboard here on the Coach's Corner. We'd like to thank everybody. Don't forget to tune in, as I said, on BVP and the new 99.3 FM, WBVP, presented by St. Barnabas, New Brighton and Southside Beaver. Southside Gold Star game, 6:15 airtime, and then over on WNBA, Central Valley and Aliquippa. That one also a 6:30 airtime, and then Saturday, of course, in the evening, Geneva getting set to play Carnegie Mellon. That also is 6:30 airtime on the stations. Again, thanks to Coach Busby. Thanks to Lonnie. Best of luck throughout the rest of the year, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And we'll see you down the road Friday and then next week on the Coach's Corner. Thanks a lot, everybody.